Hannah Murray on TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. Joining us on the line now is Sarah McDermott. She's a truth-speaking Yorkshire lass with a rebel heart and a knack for turning rock bottom into rocket fuel. A former private investigator turned property powerhouse, her book Chaos, The Art of Resilience is a rebellious, laugh-out-loud guide to turning life's messiest moments into gold dust. The book blends raw memoir, sharp life lessons and her signature chaos framework, collapse, honesty, awakening, orchestrate and success to show how breakdowns become breakthroughs. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Hello there. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's great to have you with us. And I love the idea of being a private investigator. What was that like?
Yeah, that always raises a few eyebrows. It's probably not as glamorous as most people think, actually. You do spend a lot of the time hanging around and, on surveillance jobs, can be sat there for 8 hours a day. It's quite boring. So, yeah. I know, yeah. And the interesting bits I'm probably not really allowed to talk about.
No, fair enough. I understand that. So tell us about Chaos then, this chaos framework that you came up with. Yeah,
so basically we've been through one hell of a period of chaos in our own lives. And do you know when you feel like, well, I'm going to have to go into this anyway. I'm going to have to go into the eye of this storm right now. So while I'm in there, I might as well try and make some good of it, So whilst in the midst of complete personal and business collapse, I decided that I was going to get in there and try and mine it for gold dust. I'm a firm believer that chaos is actually, it is the catalyst for transformation. It's the space when you come under huge collapse, especially, that it's often the universe nudging you with a sign that something's not right, something's not aligned, or it's not really where you were supposed to be anyway. Mm. So the chaos framework confronts people with that. So, chaos always starts in C, which is collapse. And when we're in collapse, the most important thing is to just hold ourselves steady, to try and get through it, to put one foot in front of the other, and to not be completely blindsided by panic, because it's panic that's often our downfall rather than the actual chaotic event itself. So once we've managed to hold ourselves steady, overcome our physiology deficiencies and keep moving, then we move into honesty. And honesty is the part where really we need to look inward and think, well, what part did I play in this chaos? What is it that's misaligned? What is it that's not right? What toxic habits or behaviours have I been repeating over and over, expecting a different result? And it really deep dives into that and, gets us to really analyse ourselves. So I think with chaos, when chaos comes and rips you apart, and literally pulls your head and your arms off and all the bits spill out all over the floor. And it's in that situation there where you get to take an honest look at all the parts that are out there and you get to put them back together again and decide which bits you want to keep in and which bits you want to get rid of. So that's honesty. And then we go into awakening. And this is where we start to really connect. We have a full-on energy realignment. We start to see the world for what it is. We realise the hallucinations that we've been taking as fact, usually the hallucinations that are formed by our own belief system, our own patterning system. And then once we've got all that right and we're flying high at this point, then we move into orchestration, which is the part where we really get to rebuild and plan out our own heaven on earth. Our life built on passion, built on purpose, built on fulfillment, not just monetary gain, not just chasing the latest shiny penny, but really going back to our roots and discovering what our actual gift is. What were we, why were we sent to this planet in the first place? What was it that we came with? Because we all arrived with something amazing that has often been suppressed or, beaten out of us as children as we've just, been taught to be people pleasers and do what everybody else wants us to do. And that bit's been discarded. And this is where you reconnect with that and you build a whole new life design plan in that whole module built around passion, purpose and fulfillment. And then we move into success, where we learn how to hold that, how to not get stung by overwhelm, procrastination and stagnation, which scuppers many a business owner. So many people do start out on their right path, and they soon get overwhelmed because they haven't put the boundaries in. They've not got the systems and the boundaries in place to be able to hold themselves steady through natural challenges and to continue, and get the longevity from that. And also to look after themselves as well. There's a whole chapter in that module called The Temple, which is really looking after you, because, what's the point in having great wild success if you're absolutely knackered?
I love that. I think that's a great plan, a great journey, and it resonates a lot. I think so many people, when the chaos happens to them, whatever it might be, financial or losing a loved one or all the things that we all basically have to cope with in life, it's very easy to feel like a victim and to kind of go, why has this happened to me? And it's not fair and all that kind of stuff, and blaming everybody else except for yourself. But it's really interesting that the next thing is honesty and trying to work out, as you say, what small part you might have played in it, or is there anything you could have done differently or would do differently next time? And it makes sense to go through that journey in order to move forward.
Yeah, you've got to do. There's actually a chapter in the book called It Is My Fault. And it's just, it's so empowering to admit that, because as soon as you take accountability for whatever's going on in your life, and I'm not saying that it is directly everything's your fault, because it's not, but as soon as you decide to take accountability for it, then you can change it. Because whilst ever everybody else is at fault, or everything else is at fault, or the world's just a horrible place to be, you're essentially saying that you've got no control over anything that happens to you. As soon as you say, actually, I'm going to take that as it is my fault, which means that I somehow manifested it, made it happen, encouraged it to happen, then that means that I've got the power to change that and actually to rewrite this little story that I've been playing out here.
Yeah. And let's face it, we all, or should want, I guess, for a certain extent, control of our lives. We want to be in control of our business decisions. We want to be in control of our relationships and our friendships. We want to, that the choices we make should have meaning.
Yeah, absolutely. We should want that. But the natural human inclination is to claim, blame and explain. It's just claim that somebody did this to you, blame everybody else for it, and then find ways to change the narrative in whatever it is that always burdens it with somebody else or something else. Because as children, again, we have it, ingrained into us that, we want to be good. We don't want to be at fault, because if you're at fault, you get told off for something. So as we grow into adults, we're still really 7-year-old children in our subconscious minds. And we are still trying to not be in trouble for something, even though it's ourselves that we're trying to not be in trouble with.
Yeah. So in your book, Chaos, I mentioned that it's a mixture of lessons and talking through the chaos framework, but also raw memoir. So do you talk a lot about your life and things that have happened to you?
Yeah, I do. I mean, so the book stemmed from a chaotic event in our business. So basically, I'll just give you a little bit of background. But when I went from being a private investigator to I was on a surveillance job, bored out of my brain, sat there for 8 hours, and I downloaded an audio book, and it was about property development. And then the next thing, whoosh, I went home to Sean and said, right, we're going to be property developers now, Sean. And we very quickly, we went from nothing. We had no experience. I was a private investigator. Sean was a postman. We didn't have any money behind us or anything, but we did a bit of property training and quite miraculously managed to build a portfolio of holiday homes and hotels all around Yorkshire, worth a lot of money in a very short space of time.
Fantastic.
And that was quite a thing. That was the kind of USP, that we'd done this miraculous thing, come from nowhere and just built this amazing business. And then very suddenly, it all went to pot again. We were defrauded by our sales and revenue manager. This was after coming through COVID. So we've come through COVID as a hospitality business, a development business, just about survived, just about holding the knickers onto our bums as we came through the other side of it. And then we had, the market changes, the budgets trebled our interest rates on the mortgages. So we were in financial difficulty anyway, but then we got defrauded for a very, very large sum of money. I think we had £120,000-ish stolen in a short space of time. And what that did is it caused us to bounce our mortgage payments on every property for 3 months in a row. It was at the quietest time of the year. It was January, February, March, where it really affected us in 2024. And our credit scores that had previously been immaculate were suddenly hammered. We had 2 big ongoing developments, the hotel in the Yorkshire Dales, Burgoyne Hotel, and the Secret Garden House, a big manor house in the Yorkshire Dales. We were mid-development on both, and the finance just fell through on all of it. And we'd spent, I think, £500,000 of like investors' money and things on stuff, and we had nowhere to pay it back. We had one investor issued a bankruptcy petition against us. We had people, we had tradesmen that we'd done the works and we just couldn't pay them. It was absolutely horrendous. And I was just at the helm of this sinking ship, thinking, what the hell do we do? How the hell do we get through this? And I was fighting. I stood strong. At no point did it enter our brains to just throw the towel in and duck out. And to be honest, I've heard of a lot of people doing that in the property arena not long before this had happened, because we're not the only ones to have been affected by the bad markets and COVID and everything. It was pretty torrential. So I was solid. I was like, we're going to stand our grounds here, and we're going to, Sean and I said, look, we're going to go into this now. As long as we come out with our sanity and our dignity intact and we've paid back all the investors, then we'll be fine. We can build from scratch again. We're fine. So we went in with that attitude and we just faced every single day as it came. But that had a toll. It took a toll on my health, and I ended up in the hospital with multiple stress-related illnesses, and I sat there and I was being tested for pancreatic cancer. And I sat there thinking, and I sat there in this hospital chair and I thought to myself, my goodness, if I've got this now, if I've actually got 3 months to live, do I want to spend that doing what I've been doing for the last 6 years? And I thought, do I heckers want to be doing that? I've been people pleasing. I've been striving, been trying to prove myself as a woman in a male dominated industry. And I had done that. I'd done well at that bit. And really, it probably all made my little girl still trying to prove herself to daddy, because that's what we all do, isn't it? And I thought, why the hell have I been doing this? Because this success, this perceived success that we've got, is not real success. This me sitting on this hospital chair now, about to receive a terminal diagnosis, that is not success. And I was on the brink of losing, in my mind right then, I was in the brink of losing my life and my business that I'd been working so hard for in the first place. And I just thought, it's not worth it. And I thought then, for the first time in my life, I think I felt regret. And it wasn't regret for what I hadn't done. It was, for what I needed to do next. It was regret for what I hadn't done. It was regret because I hadn't spent enough time with my kids in the last few years. It was regret because I hadn't looked after my health. And the one other thing that came out was I haven't written a book. I love writing. I'd always loved writing. Like when I was a kid at school, I used to write the school Christmas play every year. I used to write poetry all the time. I was always writing something or other. And I loved writing so much. And I'd started writing throughout my whole life so many things and never developed it into a full book or anything published because I'd just always prioritised business and making money instead. I'm very entrepreneurial as well. And the book had never come out. And I sat there and Sean had given me a cross. And Sean's Catholic. He'd given me this little cross. I had it in my bag. And I sat there and took this cross out. And for the first time again in my life, I sat there and I said a prayer to proper God with this cross in my hands. And I begged and I begged and I begged for another chance at life. And just as I did that, I got a message through from my friend Dan Harrod, and it said, Sarah, you were born to party and flounce. And I just thought, damn right, lady, I was born to party and flounce. So during my prayer to God, I was like, right, God, I promise, please give me another chance at life. I'm going to live just from joy. Because I am a joyous being and I'm sat here like this sad lump of regret in this chair and this is not me and this is not what I should be doing. And if I can have another chance, I'm going to journey into this. I'm going to go into it no matter what's going on every single day with pure joy in my heart. I'm going to enjoy the process of it. I'm going to be grateful for every second that I've got left of life. And I will write this freaking book. I will write this book and it will help everybody else who's going through anything like this. And so I got the results, and obviously I'm here talking to you, so I didn't have pancreatic cancer. I had a few other things. I had cysts in my liver and stress-induced gastritis and all sorts of things, but nothing terminal. And I did, and I wrote the book. And basically, the other funny thing that happened just shortly after that, it must have been like literally a few days after I started writing the book, our little doggy Ralph jumped up at the TV and attacked a dog on the telly and smashed the telly in the process. And obviously Ralph got into a little bit of trouble for that. But I said, Sean was like, well, we can't afford to buy another telly. And I said, no, we can't. It's completely skint at the moment. You know, we'd lost our income. We had nothing. We'd had to move out of our family home and everything. Oh. And I said, well, we won't buy another telly because on an evening, instead of watching Bridgerton or whatever for half an hour, I will write my book every single night, and we won't get another telly until that book is written.
Oh, amazing. Well done, you. Fantastic. So that what was a great story.
Yeah, so it has got, sorry, that was a very long answer to a question.
Oh, it's a great answer, though.
It has got that whole, what I've just said to you, it's got that whole starter. Yeah. So that's how the book starts. But I didn't ever write it to be like a autobiography or anything like that. I wrote it because I put the story in there, that initial part, to give some context. And there are, I bring in quite a lot of anecdotes further into the book and everything. But really, it's a guide. I've written this book because I want to help people. And, going through this, which has been the hardest period of my life to go through, I can honestly say I'm happier than I ever have been in my whole life right now, because I have, despite the fact that, everything financially has gone wrong and it's been very difficult and we've had to have some really awkward questions, and it's been sad to see, some properties have gone into receivership, and it's been stressful. But what I've been doing is transmuting all this into something of purpose to help people. And that gives me great joy and fulfillment. And I've been able to go into every conversation. I've had conversations with people who've been angry on the phone, and then I've just gone straight in, open. I apologise. This is my fault. I employed that fraudster. I'm going to take it completely on me. Now, this is the situation. We've got no money. We can't pay you right now, but and this. And by the end of it, they're like, we've come to resolutions. We've sorted things out. People are, being paid back, and it's great. And it's nice to know that we've done the right thing, or are doing the right thing by people. And you just realise, when you come through something like this, you realise how little it all means. I think, when I was a kid, I grew up in a single parent family on a council estate. And so and my dad's, remarried and married a wealthy woman who did really well for herself. She was a great inspiration for me, my stepmom. And I saw what they could achieve and what they had, this different life. But I always found it wasn't ever something that I had. It was something to be attained. Yeah. Wealth was to be attained. And so, I'd always associate having made it and having been successful as having money and doing good, and having things. And really coming through all of this and, doing what I've done and journeying so deep into it and pulling all these valuable insights and lessons and all the things that I've learned, I thought, this is really good stuff. This is going to actually change people's lives. This is helpful. And now I pin my value more on that. And it doesn't matter if I'm a bum on the beach with £5 in my pocket to be able to do that. That's more valuable than having fancy holiday homes and hotels everywhere, although thankfully we've still got some of those as well.
Oh, good. I was going to say, please tell me you've got a telly now.
Oh, we've got a telly. Yeah, just in time for New Bridgerton.
Perfect. Nice one. Well, if people want to get a copy of the book, it's called Chaos, The Art of Resilience. It's available on our website, tre.radio, in the bookshop section, and it's by Sarah McDermott, who we've been chatting with today. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. Really great to speak to you, and well done.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.